Did you know that 20% of retirees actually unretire? Citing financial concerns and emotional challenges, nearly 1 in 5 of us will return to the workforce. And according to recent surveys, as many as 60% of retirees are considering returning to work in some capacity. And this is a growing trend. Only 20 years ago, less than 3% of retirees unretired. So in this video, I'm going to look at why this is happening, how retirement is being redefined, and what we can do about it. Hi, I'm John. I'm 61 years old, and after a 39-year career, I retired about 6 months ago. And over these last few months, I've been sharing my experiences and what I've learned about retirement here on this channel. It sparked some really good conversations with other retirees, people considering retirement, and those who have been retired for years. So in this video, by diving into this topic about unretirement, I'm hoping we can have another great conversation about what it really means to be retired. Let's get started. So most retirees report that transitioning into retirement goes far beyond just the financial planning. There's actually a number of changes and impacts to our lives that can take us through some phases. We go on a bit of a journey. And those phases, well, they wind up looking something like this. So as you can see in this graph, there's some ups and downs. And what I can tell you is in my corporate career, I spent some time as what's called a change manager. So I helped groups transition through big changes that impacted them. And this curve is commonly referred to as the change curve. Most of us, when we undergo some form of transition or we experience a big change, to feel these ups and downs. This represents how we look at this emotionally, how we feel logically about it, and how it's impacting some of our outcomes and what we believed versus what's happening. So let's look at the phases a little closer. The first phase that, before we retire, that's that period of preparing. And that comes with a lot of anticipation. I think for most of us, especially when we get down to those last few months or years, we start to really anticipate retirement and look forward to it. So of course, everything seems like it's going to be great, right? We're going to retire and then see the world, travel. I mean, we all hear and think about the things that we'd like to do when we retire. Once we actually retire, well, those things that we dreamed about, we go through what would be called a honeymoon period. And, as the name would imply, that's when everything's rosy. I mean, we're no longer working. We've left behind the corporate grind and the stresses, and now we're focused on adventure and doing new things and having a great time. After a while, it just starts to feel a little different. Those things we left behind, our sense of purpose, engaging with colleagues, just even how our finances are structured. We were used to earning an income from working a job and knowing that that income for the most part was going to be steady and that we could rely on it. And now we're subject to some of the financial changes and ups and downs in markets, and we're watching our savings go one way or another depending on what's happening in the finance world. Well, that can lead to this period of disenchantment. So disenchantment isn't a complete disaster. It's just something that we all start to feel. So even those of us who have planned and look forward to retirement, well, after whether it's a few months, a few weeks, that routine starts to change, right? We start to wake up day in, day out and wonder, is this what it's all about? Is this how my life is going to be? We take those trips and we get back, and then we're here in our retired life, and a lot of our friends are still working. Again, we're watching things happen with our finances, and we get to those moments where we're questioning, was this the right decision? Is this what I want my life to be? Is this what I expected? And for some of us, that can lead to these moments of really considering unretiring. I'm going to dig a little deeper into that in a second, but what we're hoping for is we next encounter a period of reorientation. So what that means is the differences between our expectations about retirement and what we're actually experiencing. Once they become real and they're all in front of us, we start to redirect our energies. We find new purpose. We learn to accept what's happening in the financial markets. We watch it closely. I know most of us, we do spend a bit of time looking at what's happening with our savings, but we don't want to be tied to that. So we need to reorient and think about, what does our future look like? Because, retirement wasn't an end, it was a new beginning. And if we get through this next phase and we reorient and we can reset ourselves, well, then comes the real fulfillment. And I can tell you, as a recent retiree, and I expect this journey to continue, I definitely, even within a few weeks, started to wonder about my routine and the things I was doing and the plans I had made. And I'm curious to hear from all of you. Have you experienced this? I've heard from a few folks. I was warned when I created my first video, people told me that I was going to go through phases that looked like this. And I think, I kind of logically, because of my career, accepted that and agreed with it. But until you actually experience it and you realize how disenchanted it can feel, or how you can feel, and that you do need to sort of reset, it doesn't really land, personally, until it happens. So has this happened to you? What did you do about it? I'm going to take a look at some things that I think got us here and why we go through these phases, and maybe a bit about what's been happening with retirement. Let's take a look. So where do these feelings of disenchantment with retirement come from? Well, with a big change, there are definitely impacts to our lives. And in the case of retirement, there's a couple that I think really hit us. One is those feelings about ourselves, our sense of purpose. And this leads to some emotional feelings about retirement, about our direction and what we think we're about and what we really expect the next 20 plus years to look like. And the other thing is financial. We work with financial advisors to come up with plans that will leave us feeling secure. But then it happens, like we actually leave work and that paycheck isn't coming in. And I've seen a lot of retirees right here on YouTube talk about, watching their savings, thinking about it. Approximately 48% of retirees who unretire cite financial concerns as their reason. We all know we plan for this, and we have worked with financial advisors or on our own research to come up with numbers that should create the lifestyle we want. But when that becomes real and you're watching a number go up or down, and that's what you're going to live on for the next 20, 30 years, that can be a little unsettling. If there are unexpected costs, and we see it right now, inflation, rising costs of healthcare, household expenses, just several things that impact our views of how our financial status really is, or what our financial situation really is, that can be alarming when you don't have a job and an income. And then on the other side of this, 45% of retirees cite emotional challenges or feelings of a lack of purpose as their reason for returning to the workforce. As many as 28% of retirees actually report feelings of depression after losing their sense of purpose and disconnecting from a corporate career. And those who have to retire, who have unplanned retirements, whether it was because of loss of a job or medical concerns, that number goes up to 40%, because the shock of that change can really hit us hard. So there you have it. When we look at the curve again, when folks feel those two pressures of financial and emotional, it's no wonder that a segment of the population, 20%, and like I said, this number is growing, start to consider returning to work as their only option. So is returning to the 9 to 5 grind the only choice we have? Far from it. I believe we can all have our retirement cake and eat it too. So let's talk for a bit about this thing called retirement. For most of human history, it didn't exist. Our ancestors worked as long as they could. And in some societies, agricultural societies, when they got old and couldn't work anymore, well, younger generations took over work on the farm or in their family businesses. And the eldest of us, well, we were the wise elders. We were valued for our information, our knowledge, for our know-how from the past, and we directed things. That's not how it is anymore. And especially in corporate careers, when you leave, it feels like you're done. People don't value your knowledge anymore. You're kind of moving on. So this is a big change. So when we moved to this world of retiring as a time of leisure where we leave behind a career, it's created some of this turnover that we're experiencing that's, I believe, leading to some of these feelings of disenchantment. It really wasn't until just a couple of generations ago that retirement started to look the way we think of it now. What I think is happening is we are just starting to realize as human beings that while retirement as a life of leisure sounds attractive, the notion that that's going to be our life for, like I said, decades is leading to a couple of pressures. One is the pressure to work longer. We see retirement ages rising, right? From the mid 60s, from our early 60s to the mid 60s. 67 is full retirement age right now in the United States, and 70 is really, the upper age for retirement for Social Security. That pressure to retire later is increasing. Let's take a look at what some of the options are for reshaping retirement. We spend a lot of time as we're getting ready for retirement focused on the numbers, a dollar amount of savings. We need to make plans that go beyond that because, as I described, there's more that happens to us. So there are social changes. We need to prepare for the impacts of retirement, get ready for things that are going to change in your life around your daily routine, get ready for things that are going to change in your life around your social activity and your connection to other people. Get ready for things that are going to happen with your health. One of the ways we can do this, test drive our retirements. We spend a lot of time, like I said, in spreadsheet and talking to financial advisors. Have you ever taken a little bit of time and just put yourself into the routine of retirement? Maybe try and live on that budget that you're going to live on for a little while before you actually leave the workforce. I did. Cut back expenses and looked at my life a little different and said, okay, in this year leading up to retirement, I'm going to pretend I'm retired and I'm going to, see what it's like. And I'm going to, make my expenses really flat and make sure that I have a contingency for emergencies and all of that. But, just see what it's like. It was eye-opening. And there were some positive outcomes. So cutting back my expenses before I retired actually allowed me to save a bit more than I would have otherwise. So that was a great side effect. But it also opened my eyes to what that budget would look like. I think a lot of us say, oh, we'll go out to dinner less, or we'll be more frugal about how we shop, or we'll, maybe take, different types of vacations. Until you try it, you don't know how it really feels. The second thing I think we can do is not think about retirement as being done. I think there's a lot of attention paid to being done with things. I'm done with work. I'm done with the grind. I'm putting that behind me. I like to say, we didn't retire from life. We retired for life. Thinking about your retirement as a second act, not a finale, that can include some new and exciting things. Some of what I've liked to do was plan for personal projects. So there were some things that I wanted to do. Some of them were around the house. One of them was to expand and grow my garden for the first time. I've got a lot of time on my hands to be working outside, and also reshaping my daily routine. And I've done a number of videos where we talk about going for walks, introducing more exercise. These are opportunities to rethink what this phase of retirement looks like and to get excited about new beginnings. And this is also a time when people start to think about possibilities for second careers. If we are going to return to the workforce, let it be on our terms. Maybe doing something completely new that we've thought about in the past. All right, so the last one is let's keep it agile. I'm having a really good time with my retirement, just experimenting, just trying different things, trying to shape it as I go. I have some objectives in mind. I know how I like to spend my days. I know the things that I didn't like doing in my career, but I'm excited about learning new things. And again, I want to say a big part of my second act in retirement and how I'm viewing this journey has been this YouTube channel. And it's been exciting, and it's been an interesting opportunity to interact with viewers and to meet some new folks and exchange ideas. So I want to give a shout out to a couple of fellow retirees that I interact with pretty regularly. So one is David over at David in Progress, and the other is Robert over at Robert's Active Retirement. And these guys have been great. So they're a little further ahead in their journey, but they've been really kind. And I love seeing the videos they post and the comments they leave on my videos. It's like being part of a club. And so again, check them out. I'll put some links in the description. But thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to your next videos. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you gained some insights from this discussion. I would love to hear from all of you. How is your retirement going? Are you planning? Are you there? Have you experienced some of the ups and downs, the honeymoon to the disenchantment, and then hopefully onward to fulfillment? I think it would be great if you could share some of what you felt and what you did in your retirement so that others can learn from that as well. Thanks again for joining. You have a great day. And I'll see you again soon with another video, because again, as I said, this is a part of my retirement and I'm enjoying sharing with all of you. Take care. See you next time.